Well, hello. So, I'm taking a little chance today with the audio. I was downstream and it was just too loud. I did a test. But I hope that this will work out. You know, when I don't have my glasses on, it's hard to see. So I might keep them on. So, hey, guess what? It's really a warm spell here in Eau Claire, right? You know that if you're in Eau Claire. I always want to do a chat springtime near the dam because it's beautiful. I know, probably. Oh, shoot. Okay, let's see here. I want to try to set this up again, so I have to start over. Does that look good? There goes my. Oh man, it's so windy, right? So the downside is it might hurt the audio if it's so windy, but I'm gonna hope that it's okay. So I'll try to talk nice and loud, but not like I'm angry. And hopefully we'll have a nice chat on this beautiful summer day before it gets cold again. Okay, so now I'm gonna step aside. I think you can see it better when it doesn't focus on me. You get to see. So they open the gates of the dam to regulate the height of the river. And all the bike trails are underwater now, so but I don't know if you can pick it up. It'd be better if you're on your television than on your phone. But just the water is just raging as it comes out. Just wow, it looks like I don't know. It's kind of unique. So anyway, I keep stepping on these vines and branches. Jesus is the vine and we're the branches, but sometimes I keep tripping on these things. They're all over the place. See this? All right. Wow. Okay, I got a few thoughts on this and that. Bunch of parish news. Happy Easter, everybody. So I think we had a super. I read a lot of Facebook pages from my friends in various parishes, and it sounded like people at St. Anne's had an awesome Triduum and Holy Week. People at St. Joe's and Menominee had an awesome Triduum and Holy Week, and at St. James we did as well in Eau Claire. So mixed it up a little bit, changed the different choirs. Usually we have one choir do Holy Thursday and the Easter Vigil, and this year it was that one choir did the Good Friday and the Easter Vigil. So our ace choir did double duty instead of the adult choir, and it was great. They're always great. You know, isn't that something when you're trying to put on a liturgy or I got an awkward footing here. When you're trying to put on a liturgy, it's worth putting in the time so it goes smoothly. You don't want to be so uptight, you know, that you get crabby when things don't go right or something, because it never goes perfectly. But it was good. It was good. The rites just kind of carry us, you know, the washing of the feet and the procession out of the church. It's all beautiful. We had, for those who did the procession, we had this full moon coming up over the trees as we were walking over the neighborhood to the east. And Good Friday was so beautiful. It was long. It was 2 hours long. I know some people had to leave early. You know, the good news is when we have these long liturgies, it's not just because the preacher is long-winded. Sometimes it's because there's a lot of people there. And just to get through Veneration of the Cross takes a long, long time. I didn't time it, but I bet you Veneration of the Cross was easily 30 minutes. I think we'll probably try to have maybe a third line next year. I don't know. We'll see what people think. Let me know. Maybe it's a little more reverent if there's just two lines and then people can go right to the foot of the cross. We have our cross at an angle like this, and the head of the cross is toward the altar, and the foot of the cross is on the floor. And people come at it, and that way, if we had three lines, one line would come from the side, and they would reverence the cross, the crossbar. But that took a while. Easter Vigil. We had a few adventures on the Easter Vigil, but we got through. We had a baptism and five total people initiated into the church. So that was happy, but that was 2.5 hours too, you know. So I know some people came thinking it was a regular Saturday Mass. That always happens. But anyway, I think we celebrated with dignity and skill our musicians and our servers and our decorators. and Christine's always doing just a little bit of everything, and so she was good, and she tends to get she admittedly, at prayer today, Jesus was wishing peace to the disciples. She said, I needed to hear that before all these liturgies because I get so anxious. I want it to be right. And I just got to take a breath and hear Jesus saying, peace, peace, So, anyway, Christ rises whether we are up for it or not, or whether we're perfect or not, right? And we never are perfect. So, hey, I don't know what else to say. It was just good to be. And then Sunday morning, golly jeepers, that was nice. I always wish I had a more potent, maybe briefer and more potent homily I could give, but it was okay. And but I just loved. I told folks, I said, this is kind of a privilege to be in a full church. So before we said the Our Father, I said, just try to savor the fact that you're with all these other Christians and you're saying the prayer that Jesus taught us. And then I kind of turned my mic off so people could kind of hear each other, and it just. We chant it during Lent, and so we just said it at Easter morning, and a lot of people, especially at the 10 o'clock Mass, but also at the 8, they were both full, but 10 had more overflow, and that was good. So I love hearing people say the Lord's Prayer in a packed house, and we never ran out of Eucharist, so that was good. We almost did on Palm Sunday, so I apologize to people who just got a small piece of the host, but it's a good problem to have. And then, so anyway, I guess the good news is, I don't know that we can ever maintain that sort of attendance, but it was kind of what it was before COVID. It's the first time I felt like we had a big liturgy that was like it was before COVID. So I'm happy for that. Yeah, okay. So, what do we got for news? Sunshine days are great. Speaking of summer, we'll have this Sunshine Days in July. It'll be July 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. That's a Monday through a Thursday. You can register for it now, and we're always looking for volunteers to help. We have a great tradition of people that went through Sunshine Days as little tykes, and now they're teens, and they volunteer to help. And some have even become adults, and they come back and help. So that's good. You can get to that through our website, or contact Kelly or Beth, Let's see. Summer fun, nothing scheduled yet. But Kelly's brainstorming summer fun, maybe kayaking, maybe a little more tubing, something like that. I'll try to get some family softball nights, some Sunday nights on the calendar. Those are hit and miss. When they're hit, though, they're fun. When we get a good 10 or more people to show up, those family softball nights are really great. So I'll put a few of those on the calendar. We'll see how it goes. But none calendared yet. I'm so excited. Kelly told me today that so one of my favorite devotions in the that we have in the church is the Stations of the Resurrection. Nothing against the Stations of the Cross, but they're these Stations of the Resurrection. I believe they started in the 1970s, or for sure by the 80s. And I don't have them memorized now, but we pray them with the school 3 times. We'll be praying them with the school this Friday if anybody wants to jump into church. And instead of processing with the cross from station to station, we'll process with the Easter candle. We've been coming right up the middle aisle, but this is like happy news. Feel the wind coming. I'm trying to block the wind here with this. But the happy news is, I don't know, the wind's right behind my head, I think. Let's see where the, yeah. So the happy news is, Kelly is going to print off some Stations of the Resurrection. So we have the Stations of the Cross, of course, on the wall of church. She's going to attach them underneath the Stations of the Cross. And, there are things like Jesus meets Mary at the tomb. She thinks he's the gardener. It's all these events from the scriptures that post-resurrection. Or the women come to the tomb and find it's empty. I think that's the first station. My favorite station, of course, is the Confession of Thomas. See him there? So people call him Doubting Thomas, right? What is this one labeled at all? It just says Thomas. But On more classical Greek Orthodox Russian icons, you'll see it say in Greek up here, and it'll be the belief of Thomas, or the touching of Thomas. I talked to a Greek man once. I said, "What's that mean?" And he said, "Well, it means touching. It's like when Thomas touched the wounds of Christ." Which isn't clear in the gospel that he actually touched them or not. It's interesting. Actually, it kind of seems like he doesn't. But he said famously, "Unless I touch his wounds, I won't believe." Right? And so, yeah. Anyway, he said it. It's like, I forget what it's called, like philosopsis or something like that was the Greek word, and it was like not just like I touch my nose, but it's like a touching, like a probing, like he's probing the wounds, like he's searching, is the kind of the meaning of that verb, which I thought was really awesome. So okay, the screen just went dark a little bit on me, so I hope it's not losing power or something. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to show you this at some point. That's Stations of the Resurrection. So that's like the seventh station of the resurrection, and it ends with Pentecost, the sending of the Holy Spirit. I saw them when we went to visit our sister parish in Puerto Rico, San Juan Cathedral, St. John the Baptist Cathedral, I think, in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and they had, of course, the Station of the Cross on the outer wall, and then they had these pillars, big cathedral, these pillars were kind of within the pews, among the pews, and on those pillars were the Stations of the Resurrection. The most famous place I saw the Stations of the Resurrection was at the catacombs, before my great sabbatical over to the Holy Land 3 years ago, and I stopped in Rome. What a privileged time all that was. And one of my days in Rome, I went to the catacombs, where there were graves or tombs underground where Christians used to gather and worship when it wasn't so popular, right? Or it was illegal. So you see a lot of ancient Christian art on the wall. And above, there was this path that connected one catacomb to another catacomb. And I saw these posts with these bronze plaques. And I thought, oh, Stations of the Cross, It wasn't. It was Stations of the Resurrection, also known as the Via Lucis, the Way of Light. So in Jerusalem, the Stations of the Cross are walked on the Via Dolorosa, the Way of Sorrows. The Stations of the Resurrection are walked on the Via Lucis, the Way of Light. So check it out. You can pray with the school children and me this Friday if you like. I think it's like 2:30. Something like that. Ministry fair is going to be not this weekend, not the next weekend, but the weekend of the 29th and 30th. A chance to see the different ministries at St. James and sign up for one. Ask some questions about it if you like. It's always a happy weekend. Thanks in advance for anybody who's working those booths. First Communion is not this Sunday, but it's the following Sunday. So here comes the wind again. So, First Communion is weekend of April 22nd, 23rd. I don't think it'll add that much time to the masses. It'll be beautiful, probably add maybe 5 minutes. They will receive communion with everybody else. I mean, they'll receive first, but it's at the same time everybody else receives. And, the class has probably got 35 people in it or something, so they're just divided up to the different, at the different liturgies. Some at the Saturday 4:30, some at the 8th, some at the 10th. Thanks, Beth, puts in a lot of work coordinating that. Ooh, I got a tick. Oh, I'm gonna have to go home. See my tick? Can you see it? Oh, it's all those branches I've been walking into. It's not a deer tick, at least. Anyway. Yeah, I'm trying to destroy the tick. All right. Okay. So back to business. I am planning another retreat overnight to St. John's Abbey, and that's in Collegeville, Minnesota. It's about 2.5 hours from Eau Claire, so not too bad. And we'll go on a Monday morning, have lunch and midday prayer with the sisters of St. Bede's, who now live at the St. Joseph Monastery, I think they call it, on the campus of the College of St. Benedict, which is just like 4 miles from St. John's. And then we'll go on and we'll check in at the guest house at St. John's. My hope is Father Cyril called me today, or I called him because I emailed him 2 days ago, and I wasn't hearing back, and I knew I wanted to advertise this. And I caught him just before they had to go off for midday prayer, and he said, I can't talk, I gotta go to prayer. Good monk, right? When they can't talk, they gotta pray. It was great. He said, it looks good though. It looks very probable that it'll work for May 22nd, 23rd. Or if it's whatever the Monday and Tuesday is, near May 22nd, 23rd. So I'm hoping that can work. And we can take about 15 people, so if you want to go, let me know. And it's just pay your own way kind of thing. We'll try to get some drivers in carpool. And it's just like, the whole idea was, I like to do that myself. And I thought, well, why not just ask if any people from the parish want to go? So it's not a big thing. We don't get a coach. We don't have a big, just if you want to go, we'll see who can drive. Just like a group of friends going up to St. John's. But you pay for your room, you pay for your board, and chip in for gas for the drivers if you want. So, okay, that's how that works. Hopefully I can report definitively that that's on. We had Mass with the kids today. What is it, 60-minute Mass with the children today. It was good. It was nice. You know what happened today, right? We got to sing Alleluia again. So they have this great song. It goes, Ale, 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 Alleluia, Ale, Ale, Alleluia, Ale, Ale, Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia. And then there's a verse, and then we go back into it. Well, kids like it, I like it, we're all doing that. Those crazy adults that come to Mass and are behind the kids, they're just sitting there like this. And I know some of you are watching, so it's my challenge for next week. If you come to the kids' Mass, everybody get those hands up and give that a go. So there were a couple actually that were doing it, but it's fun. You know, what we do with our bodies, our bodies are important, to state the obvious, but posture, we kneel at times at church. We were just, a group of us from the Holy Land in February. Again, I can't see when I don't have these on. So, it's a little windy again. And there I am. Okay. So, but in the Holy Land, the Western Wall, very famous. It's like an old retaining wall from the temple at the time of Jesus. And so you see the Jews who come up there, the more Orthodox Jews, the Hasidic, Haredi Jews. They come, and they're saying the prayers, and they're going like this as they say the prayers. And I'm honestly not sure. I wish I could tell you right now what the reason is. But there's something that they do with their bodies while they're praying. We also observed, or I did on my sabbatical anyway, when I was in Bethlehem, which is a Muslim and Christian city. Observant Muslims pray 5 times a day. And they, usually the most observant ones, carry a little prayer rug with them. And when it's 2:15 or whenever the time is to pray, they take that prayer mat down, they stand, they kneel on their knees, and they put their forehead to the ground, and then they kneel up, and then they stand, and they'll kneel to their knees, they put their forehead to the ground, and then on the knees and stand up. And I forget how many times or not, but it's inspiring and it's beautiful to see them worshiping God that way. And I just say that because different religions do things with their bodies when they pray. Their posture's important. Just in your private prayers, you might consider doing something with your posture. Like maybe when you pray tonight, if you don't, just do this with your hands. It's like I'm open to anything you want to give me right now, God. Help me receive your grace and your love. Or if you want to praise God, do try that. Hey, a lot of us are kind of uptight and with our bodies, and I don't have great rhythm, so I'm not much of a dancer, that's for sure. But to engage our bodies sometimes in our prayer is good. Speaking of dancing, wasn't it lovely? We had those 3 girls from the children's choir kind of came in with a procession and came out with just some nice dignified gestures and joy, especially on the way out. I felt like it gave a little spark of joy to our Easter celebration, so it was good. Okay. Good. I think maybe that's all the parish news. I'm just going to mention a little bit with Thomas and the Thomas Gospel. I've preached on this once or twice, and I don't know if it doesn't seem always to work real well in a homily. It's more of an intellectual thing, and maybe it's blowing again. I don't know. So I hope you can hear this, but I'm going to just keep recording anyway. I think you can. So Thomas, he won't believe unless he touches, right? And then at the end he believes. He says, "My Lord and my God," which is why the Greeks make such a big deal out of that. They call it the faith of Thomas, the confession of faith of Thomas, the belief of Thomas. It's the greatest statement of faith in the whole Bible. My Lord and my God. Nobody else says that of Jesus. So that's good. But they say in the early church there are all these different traditions as the decades passed, and there is a Gospel of Thomas. I don't know, I'm not saying he wrote it, but there's some tradition that formed around him called the Gospel of Thomas, and there's some pretty cool stuff in it, meaning meaningful and interesting and perhaps helpful spiritually to us. But there's also some strange stuff in it. At the end it says, Peter said to Jesus, "Make Mary," his mother, "make Mary male, for females don't deserve life." So that doesn't sound good, does it? And then Jesus says, "Well, in the end, she'll be male. Everybody will be male. But for now, just let it be like it is." And it's because that comes from a philosophical viewpoint that is called Gnosticism, Gnosticism, Gnosticism. And it has to do with knowledge, and one of the tenets of Gnosticism is that creation is bad. It's like God didn't make it. There's this other, spirit is good, and the matter or the stuff is bad. So anything that reminds you have a body, like sexuality or whatever, it's bad, avoid it. And so that's in contrast to the Gospel of John, right? Where this story of St. Thomas is in John's Gospel. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word is with us, and the Word was made flesh. So God assumed human flesh. So human flesh is okay, good enough for God, right? Redeemable. And he died. Jesus really died. We kind of take that for granted. But this Gnostic belief would be like, well, before his body died, Jesus' spirit just left. The whole idea of Gnosticism is liberation from the body. Liberation from the body. Body's no good. So we want to be able to, and secret knowledge, and just to kind of be detached from all material things and body things, and just focus on spiritual things, God and truth, all those things, but not nothing physical. So, that's declared bad thinking or heresy by the early church. That Gnostic was kind of ruled out. And that's why books like the Gospel of Thomas are not in the Bible. So anyway, it has today. I was going to say something about that. So in the story, they say, and this makes sense to me because there were these competing traditions by the time the Gospel according to John was written, that they didn't believe in the bodily resurrection. It's like, who cares? Body's dead, there's a corpse, who cares? It's got nothing to do with it. We wanted to escape that anyway. We don't want the body to rise, we don't care. The spirit escaped it, that's good. So that would be like a Thomistic or a Thomas community, a Thomas spirituality back in the day, in the early centuries of the church. So, but it's not what came to be our spirituality or Orthodox Christian spirituality. So which John more represents. And so they say that the story really is from John's point of view to make Thomas look kind of bad. He's like, I don't believe that Jesus rose from the dead, and I gotta touch it. And so it's like, Jesus comes back when Thomas is in the room because he appeared the first time, And Thomas wasn't there, right? And everybody said he was here. He said, I don't believe it. I got to touch him. So then Jesus comes the next week and says, Thomas, what did he say? Go ahead, touch my wounds. Touch my wounds. You, and if he's representing all those people that have this Gnostic spirituality where body's bad, you who don't believe in bodily resurrection, you come here, you put your hand in my wounds and tell me this isn't the bodily resurrection. I'm not just a spirit, Thomas, this is my body, you know? So, and it's a transformed body, it's a resurrected body, it's not just a resuscitated body, but there's something physical about it. So I always think that's kind of interesting. And you know what? I think it's easier to have a Gnostic belief. Well, let's just believe that our soul goes to heaven, then we don't have to, you know, scrunch our minds too much. How do our bodies get transformed? You know, if someone dies and is cremated, how do they experience resurrection? And all those scientific questions, man, they are hard to wrap our minds around. And how that physical reality of who we are is redeemed and resurrected, and again, not just resuscitated, but somehow there's a physicality to ourselves. And, get into the how, we just don't know how that would be. So it'd be easier, wouldn't it, just to say, oh, it's just my spirit, you know, I'll just go up to heaven, it's just my spirit. And but we kind of insist that no, there's more to it, that despite the difficulty it is in believing. And I'm glad, because when we insist on that, what we're saying is that physicality or bodiliness is important and can be redeemed. And I think it shapes our attitudes about, you know, do we help the poor? Do we care for our earth and our environment? And this beautiful spring day, I'll let you look at it again. Isn't it great? Shadows are starting to form on the far shore. You know, do we take care of our world and our creation? Do we care for the poor? Or do we just say, it doesn't matter anyway. It's just all spirit is all I care about, as long as I go to God, you know. But no, we say we wait the day when there's a new heaven and a new earth, and the very earth will be redeemed. So we got to take care of it in the meantime. Very important. Pope Francis is huge on this, and we have a great green committee at our parish that's huge on this. So, but you see these Christian spiritualities sometimes, like I see it in the Holy Land where I just was. There's kind of this movement that puts millions of dollars into the Holy Land to try to have, instead of maybe how do we live together justly and peacefully, Palestinians, Arabs, and Jews, Israelis, how do we find a way to peacefully coexist? You know, and the majority want to do that, but there are these extremes, and they have a lot of power that don't care. They just want it all to be under Israeli control, because these are Christians now, because they think that will be the catalyst for Christ to come back. And so it's like the spiritual good. Christ will come back, second coming, you know. But the means to that in their mind is like, well, Israel's got to be in control of all this, and that it doesn't. They're not concerned about how it affects Palestinian people or other people. That's, you know. So that's one example. I was in Central America at 2010 with the Marino group, and you know, it's a real historically Catholic country. And the Catholics, maybe because I was hanging around the Marinolers, and they were really very focused on justice issues and how do we alleviate poverty, how do we educate, how do we educate women about how to resist violence toward them, and how do we, I'm trying to think of all the talks we heard. There are all these great things. And at the same time, there were a lot of what was growing. Catholics were shrinking. There were fewer people going to Catholic church, and what was growing was this Pentecostalism. And I'm not trying to put down. I'm just trying to say that was more emphasizing your lives are hard. Come here and worship, and we'll sing, and we'll dance, and we'll feel good for an hour, and you'll get that spirit in you, and you can go back into your hard lives and feel better about it. That's a good thing. Not saying that's a bad thing, but not politically engaged, not caring about transforming to make the at least the ones that I heard of, and so I got the impression that the Catholics were politically engaged in trying to make things better, but people weren't going there because the worship experience, or it wasn't feeding their hearts. It was And so I think, the goal is, and I think that's probably, I never thought of it this way, but I think the good goal of a parish, whatever denomination, is, do things that inspire and that make us feel good and give us strength to endure difficulty and hardness, do that, feeding the spirit. But we also want to encourage each other to feed the body. We collect food for the food pantry. We have teams that serve at Sojourner House. We have this committee that looks at how to keep our earth healthy. So it's a kind of a both and so even though the resurrection of the body, I get it, it's a hard thing to wrap our minds around and profess that we believe every day, but the implications of it are important and good. So I just want to leave you with that as we look at this beautiful scene here. God bless you, everybody. Happy Easter. Oh, I hope you get just even a little sense of what I'm seeing. It's just gorgeous. Bye-bye.